Harness pony preparation. Thin slicing, cutting a big task into its component mini-skills. Getting used to the feel of the shafts. I've just approached Boots. I'm giving her a click and a treat because she's been waiting there nice and patiently for me to get ready, set up the camera. I'm doing it with a set camera at the beginning. And this is my pretend shaft. I've made it with some polythene pipe and stuck a tomato stake up it so it stops bending, and I've put some footman's loops on it so that eventually I can actually attach it to the harness. But you notice I've got no harness on the horse. We're just playing with the shaft itself. If it's a horse that's used to having a carrot stick rubbed all over it, or a stick and string, if it's Pirelli trained, it probably is used to a carrot stick like this horse is. And this is the second time I've played with it. The first time I simply just used it as a very long stick, rubbed her all over with it. And now I'm just getting her used to it lying against her side and rubbing it down along her side. This horse is especially sensitive to touch, so she doesn't take much for her to get a response. She moves at the lightest touch when I was riding, or if I'm doing ground games with her. So it's a very sort of fine line between having her desensitized to the feel of the shaft along her side, and then later on to shifting herself over when the shaft comes against her side. So with everything that I'm doing, I'm teaching her the difference. When do I want her to stand still? I'm just having it touch her, and I'm aiming to get relaxation. Relaxation really is everything. Now this is how I actually started off at the beginning. On the first session, I just rubbed her all over with this long shaft, and she just thought, oh yeah, her stick's a bit longer today, and she didn't really worry about it at all. You can see her tail is quiet. She's interested, but she's pretty relaxed, and she's willing just to stand still. Every now and then, when she maintains her relaxation, I give her a click and a treat for just standing there, staying relaxed. So this bit that I'm doing now is how I started initially. And obviously you do it on both sides of the horse, but I'm doing it on the side so the camera can see. It's basically just repetition. Watching this is a bit like watching paint dry, and in my opinion, teaching horses should be like watching paint dry. Got to give the horse time to assimilate what you're doing. And I'm just laying the shaft along her side, running it down her side from top to bottom, so she gets used to the idea of that thing moving right behind her as well. Now don't ask for an awful lot at the beginning, just enough so that she's comfortable. So I might start rubbing her down once, and then I might rub her twice, and as she's still relaxed I might rub her a third time. And I think we're just going to turn around here so I can work on her other side. Everything I do on one side, I also do on the other side. Nice turn for me. Click and treat for that. And just the picking up and putting down of the shaft, and the fact she's not worried about the shaft. I think the first time I just walked around her with it as well. Clicked and treated for relaxation. See there, her tail, a little bit of a flick. Her tail is a really good indication of what her mind is thinking, more so than any other part of her body. So you notice I'm standing in front of the horse, which is probably where I usually would be playing with her with my training stick, and now I'm walking to the side. She's wondering if she needs to target the stick and get a treat for flexing and targeting, because we do that as well. Whoops, she turned her head there and ran into the stick, so I had to be careful about that. And I say, no, I just want your face forwards. The first time we did this, she turned around toward me a lot, and I just waited till she straightened her head again and clicked when she straightened her head. So today she seems to understand that I don't want her face to come around, that she needs to keep it forward. So that was already a big forward step. And just start at the top. See, she's still questioning me. What are you doing around there? Do you want me to come and target something? And I say no. So there I waited for her head to go straight. Click and treat. And now I've moved. I started at the front, then I moved sort of just behind her shoulder, and now I'm starting to move back a little bit. Because when you actually put the shafts on with your gig, you obviously are going to be coming from the back. So I'm getting her used to the fact that we can be in that position. There, she's still wondering, should I target that thing? Do you want me to turn my head around? So I'm waiting again. I'm just holding it there and waiting for her to straighten her head. The minute she started moving her head straight, I clicked and treated. Moving to the back again. Pick up and hold the shaft against her side. And just rub from top to bottom. Click and treat. I think that was 3 rubs. Her tail is still calm. We've just resumed again after a little break, and now you'll notice that I'm asking her to move her hind end when I put a little bit of pressure on the shaft. I'm still standing by her shoulder in front of her. Eventually I want to be able to put the pressure on the shaft from behind. And there you can see what is she doing? She's a little bit unsettled. She's shuffling her feet and she's swishing her tail. So I've just gone back to rubbing again. So what we were trying to teach her now is to differentiate between me just holding the shaft against her side and actually putting pressure on it, asking her to move. So I'm holding it there. I'm putting pressure on. She moves. The minute she moves, I did a click and a treat. So because she's so sensitive, I have to be quite careful that I really differentiate this in her mind, that I don't get her escaping it and wanting to move as soon as she feels the thing lying against her side. You definitely want the horse just to stand still until your gig is hitched up properly and you're ready, and you've gotten on it and you're ready to go somewhere. Otherwise you've got a bit of a problem. So I'm just rubbing her again. See her tail? She's not comfortable when she flicks her tail like that. So click and a treat for standing. And I'm just rubbing her. So just keep an eye on her body language to see whether I can go the next step. So rubbing her, and now I'm putting pressure on. She's thinking about it, and she moved her hind end just a touch. It's that first little move in the right direction that is really important. Because once you get a move or a half a step, you can easily get as many as you want. But getting the first one with their understanding rather than with pressure is the key. So I'm holding it there, putting pressure on, and she moved. So that was a click and a treat. That's what we're after. I'm asking her just to stand while I rub. And sometimes I don't put pressure on. I don't want her to expect the pressure each time. Rub, lay it along, put pressure on. She's thinking about it. I stay there with the same amount of pressure, and she moved. Really good. That's really good. That's 3 times in a row for a first session. That's excellent. Rubbing, lay it against her side, put pressure on, and she moved right away. Excellent. Rubbing, lay it against her side, put pressure on, she moved over. So I'm really happy with that. This side she found a little bit more problematic. So I'm rubbing. I'm laying the pressure on. Notice how she's moving into the pressure. She's moving into the pressure opposite of what I want. Now, it's not her being mean or anything. That's her not understanding that it's to move away on this side. So I did it again, and she moved away. So I was very pleased she did that to demonstrate to you that horses naturally move into pressure, and to teach them to move away is what I meant to say is that moving away is a skill we need to teach them. It's not automatic. There, she moved away just a tiny bit, but enough to get a click and a treat. Every now and then it's really good to have a break to do something else. So I took her away to just refresh her memory about doing this move of the hindquarters with me standing on a pedestal. And this is one of the few times I hold a horse tight by the halter, just to keep her nose at my belly button. And I'm using my very long stick, which is my shaft, to ask her to move her hind end in a bigger circle than her front end. And just bringing the shaft around to the other side there. So I'm holding her quite close to keep her nose at my belly button, and I'm asking her to move away from the pressure of the shaft. Remember, on her right side, that's the side of one there, she had that first tendency to move into the shaft. So rather than trying to fix it exactly where I was doing before, I took her away into another situation and sort of reiterated and emphasized that, remember, you know this is a thing you've done before. You move away from pressure on the side. And it's good to give the horse a break, to do something even slightly different. Now we're finally moving into the last phase for today's session. I've asked my husband to hold her, and I want to put the pressure on the shaft from behind her. We've done an awful lot of preparation work so that she's confident with me behind her. I know she's not going to kick. And there, I put some pressure on from behind, and she moved over, and I just click, and Brian gives her the treat. She's a little bit confused about all this because she doesn't really work with Brian much. Usually he gives her tomatoes and nice things out of the garden. So she's wondering, shall I do things to get him to treat me from the front, or should I pay attention to the person behind me? So I'm either clicking for rubbing, for holding, or for asking the movement. So I ask for movement there, click and treat. That was pretty good on her left side. That's the side she finds easiest. So now we're going to rub on this side. Every time you see him give her a treat, I've just clicked before that. I'm going to lay it onto her, and she's wondering what's going on now because there's two people, and I'm just wanting her to stand there, putting pressure on, and she moved over. Wasn't much of a move over, but she actually moved in the right direction, so she got a click and a treat. Laying the stick on, pressure, move over. Excellent. That was really good. I think I'm going for a third time. Rub, lay the stick on, ask her to move over. She's a little bit unsure there. You can see she's not sure what she's meant to be doing, and she moved over. She actually brought the near hind in front of the far hind just to start with. And we're going to ask her once again from behind. I lay it against her. She's smiling at Brian there. And ask her to put her hind end over. She's unsure at first, and she steps over. That's good. We're going to ask for one more, and that's going to be the end of the session. Lay it along her side. Ask, yes, she moved over. That's it. That's going to be the end. It's important to end the session on a positive note. Horses will dwell on what happened and bring that thought to the next session. The thin slices for doing all of these activities were, in my opinion, number 1, rub the shaft all over the horse. Number 2, lay the shaft alongside the ribs. Number 3, Rub the shaft down from the back to the belly. Number 4, gradually position the handler further back. Number 5, ask the horse to shift the hindquarters with shaft pressure while standing beside the horse. And number 6, ask the horse to shift the hindquarters when the handler is behind the horse. Teaching and training are not necessarily the same thing. For teaching and learning to happen, the first thing we need is always relaxation. The alternative is dust and anxiety.